Greetings, gentlemen. So, Aaron Clary brought up this conversation the other day I thought was pretty good. Where do all the friends go after 25? It was a question someone sent him. And he had some interesting positions, talking points and stuff. I don't think he really nailed what happens. It's just, he did have some interesting insight on it. So, this is OTR Ogre and Corgi, and hey man, if you found this channel, I'm fucking amazed. But, like, and subscribe. I'm going to say one thing that a lot of people aren't going to understand initially. Most people you know are just a fucking waste of time. Your friends, your family, a lot of them are just a waste of time. Maybe you're cool, maybe you're not. But the time that you casually waste throughout the course of your life, spending on shit that's not taking you anywhere, like you're just hanging out with your bros and shit, you could have spent that time making something of yourself. You know, you ain't getting any more time back. This idea that in your 20s, you know, oh, they don't let you make it until you're in your 30s. No, there's a lot of times you don't choose to make it until you're in your 30s. And what you find as a single guy particularly, no wife, no kids, is that you were good bros and stuff from your teens into your 20s and somewhat in your late 20s, but really what happens, most of them get married and then the wife doesn't like you because you're a representation of absolute freedom. I mean, I took it to another level. I lived in the woods in my early 20s. I had my buddy's dad had land. I rented it, built a yurt. It was great. 4 years, $100 a month for rent. So I know a lot of people, they're like, you live in the woods, that's weird. I'm like, you pay rent, that's stupid. You know? So there's a little resentment there. But, you know, when people realize that, yeah, they're getting taken, they're a chump. But then you have the situation where you're really good bro friends. The wife doesn't want you reminding them that there's a life outside of the plantation. A lot of work, a lot of time. They have a family to feed, and if they get divorced, they're going to lose everything. So she drags them around by the balls type of shit. But then you got the friends that once they meet new people, they stop really being a good friend to you. Or you realize maybe a lot of your friends really weren't that great of friends to begin with. Like, once it requires them to put forth effort, they basically just disappear. Like, you know, I had one friend who I was the reason we had a friendship for years. And I didn't even really think about it because I'd always give him a call every so often. Hey, man, you want to hang out? And we'd watch anime and play video games and shit. And it was pretty cool. But then he was kind of the boy in the bubble guy growing up. He's homeschooled. And I knew him from when he wasn't homeschooled, when he was back in school. And once he met new people, he started acting a little weird, like he was ashamed. I admit, I was living in my S10 Blazer at the time. Because rent is stupid. And so I would go where the work was, and I'd be where the work was because gas costs money, and it was during the recession. It was like, where I grew up on the West Coast, there was always a recession. There's too many good guys looking for work and not enough guys, not enough jobs for the guys, so basically you're always fighting for something better. It's a fucking crazy thing about as far as trying to find a job there. I don't know why I stayed there so long. I stayed there because it's what I knew. And basically, so I'd move where the work was, and I had nothing to lose. It wasn't like women were beating down my door when I did rent an apartment in my late teens, maybe early 20s, I think, right before I moved out in the woods the first time. So I already knew, like, I was going to do whatever I wanted. It's funny, every once in a while a chick would want to scrog because, you know, they're like, you look like you'd piss off my parents. I was that guy. I'm like, yeah, okay. It's fucking hilarious too because I'm ridiculously good at saving money. I'm a minimalist, and when I make lots of money, I end up profiting. When I don't make a lot of money, I don't need a lot of money because I'm a minimalist. So I've accomplished things that most of my contemporaries back where I grew up couldn't even dream of. And that's the funny thing about it. You're like, and then people say, like Aaron Clary's book, The Curse of the High IQ. I don't know if I'm a fucking genius. I just know that I have better tactics and strategy. You know. But when it came to a lot of my friends, yeah, a lot of them, once they met better people, I just didn't hear from them. Or they got married or had other girlfriend, I just didn't hear from them. Or, you know, you realize when you stop putting forth the effort, you never heard from them again. Or when you did hear from them, you realized that there was nobody that gave a fuck about them. Like, all their good friends that they were trying to schmooze up to, they fucking bailed on them. So let's put it like this. Most people's association with you is a practical reason. Like, think about this. They don't want to be alone, so they call you up. So they get the benefit of having association. Then there's the benefit of what can you do for them? What improvement can you bring to their life? Like, are you connected to people? Can you help them get a job? Are you someone that's important in the community or some shit? Yeah, there's a reason to practically associate. Women are really good at this. Women innately look for this type of thing. But with guys, you think, there's loyalty. And there might be for a time, but that's not real loyalty, is it? And what happens is that sometimes it's just a matter that they have things that are more important to them. And now you're just time wasted in there. And they wouldn't say that, but that's what their actions say. Like, them spending time with you is just a waste of time. They'd rather, say, watch the sports ball. They could watch the sports ball with the bros, but no, wifey poo won't let them do that, or they just don't feel like making forth the effort. There's just things they would rather spend their time doing. And yet, these same people later will come up to you on the street and make, oh, hey, man, how you been? And I've had that happen a lot of times. And at this point, I just act for, like, who are you? And they're like, oh, blah, blah, blah. Oh, yeah. Sorry, I just kind of forgot about you. Because the truth is, if it was a level of effort, and they put forth none after you, for years, try to keep things going, and you just one day, it's like, well, this is a communal garden, and I'm the only one watering, bringing seed, towing, pulling the weeds. I'm the only one keeping it going, and one day you're like, I could spend my time doing something productive in my life. I could be making a giant pile of money. Think about this from a trucking perspective. I mean, guys that are owner-operators make way more money than I do. But as a single guy with no wife, no kids, no bills, I try to, and I'm keeping it that way, because I view most things as a fucking liability. Like, I do not need a bunch of extra liabilities in my life. But if I make $350 for sitting on my ass that day, and I make nothing for sitting on my ass hanging out with you, other than some emotional feeling, well, I can fill my time with information and entertainment. I get nothing for hanging out with you, other than, hey, we've known each other, maybe we had a good time that day. And generally with people, there's a thing that people they'll schmooze up to, they won't ask favors from those people. But they'll come to you and say, hey, buddy, can you help me go get some firewood and stuff? I mean, go out there, do some fishing, firewood cutting. Translation, they just don't want to do the work. And basically, you're the friend they'll ask to do that. But, like, what do you get out of that? In the time that you spent fucking around with these people, what do you really get? And the truth is, pretty much nothing. But because, we're trained to be social herd animal creatures, nobody really thinks about it. Nobody really questions it. So, I mean, I started questioning it, and I started saying, well, practical association. If they're going to use that on me, well, I'm going to use it on them. What do I get for the time that I spend with these people? And so people say, oh, man, that's cold. You're cold. Yes, I am. I was left out in the cold, and I got used to it. I adapted to the solitude. Now, how do I handle old friendships? I reduce people to party friends. Even family members. If I haven't heard from your ass, if I've been the one to make the last few calls over the last while and a half, and you ain't bothered to make a call, then eventually I'm just going to leave you for dead. I'm going to assume there's nothing that you don't value that. You have things you'd rather do, whether it's going to church, watching the sports ball. There's a dozen other things you'd rather be doing than making that call to keep the relationship going. And so, I reduce you to a party friend. Party friends do not require me to help them with their moving of their furniture, or helping them get firewood, or help them on a project, because that's the call you'll get from a lot of your friends once they've basically decided. They'll give you the call because you're disposable. They don't care if they piss you off. And that's because you've become that convenient, loyal friend. Like a good marriage. You know the people that cheat? They cheat because they think, oh, they'll never find out. So they don't care if they lose it. They either don't care if they lose it, or they think that you're so loyal they'll never figure it out. People get stupid like that. So I treat people like party friends. I see you at the party, and we'll have that 10-minute conversation. Because frankly, There wasn't anything you really wanted to tell me anyways throughout the course of the year. So you don't really want to tell me much. Getting by, living life, blah, blah, blah. Not much here. Got nothing really to say. Either it's they have no life, and that's absolutely pathetic. Or it's even kind of, it's weird when people still expect you to be a friend, but they don't actually want to tell you about anything that's going on in their life because they don't really actually care that much. It's just a waste of their time. But then they still have the nerve to try to say that, oh yeah, we're friends. Well, we were friends. At least if they're honest, we were friends back in the day. I don't see them so often anymore. At least that's honest. So that's where I say just reduce them to party friends. You see them at the party. There's no requirements. Nobody's expecting anything of anybody. Everybody's pretty much on their best behavior. Everybody's having a good time. You have that 10-minute conversation. Oh, it's good to see you, blah, 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 blah. And you move the fuck on. Don't be kind, but don't be rude, as the line from the Beck song says. You know. But that's what happens. You're not really useful in their existence. They're not trying to schmooze up. They don't feel like they have anything to lose. And you were probably a good friend back in the day, but now you're just a guy they happen to know. And that's why I have no real value to friendship in general. Like real true blue friends. You know, and maybe something to do with some of your friends is like maybe once or twice a year you plan a trip, like a vacation. And you say, hey man, let's plan a trip to Alaska to do some Alaskan fishing. Or let's plan a trip to some place, do this. And it's like pulling teeth with a lot of people. To get them to even drive across the state to where there's going to be a salmon run, to go camping. Because that's effort, and they could be spending that time with people they value more. So then they have the attitude, why don't you visit us? Fuck that. Just keep in mind, like I said, if I could be making $350 that day, just sitting on my ass listening to an enjoyable podcast, that is worth more to me than some BS friendship. So, anyways, take it easy. Oh yeah, like, link, and subscribe, blah, blah, blah. Hate comments, all that crap. Have a good one.